Hi, I'm Summer Tothill, and every week I do a Q&A on my Instagram stories with my followers where I answer questions about gender equality. I compile these here on YouTube in long form so that you don't have to spend your day tapping through Instagram stories. Let's get started with the first question.
How can we get men more involved in raising kids, for example, from the very beginning, like with breastfeeding, etc.?
Today I'm going to test out whether it's better if I use a microphone for these Q&As because my house is full of very hard, shiny surfaces and it creates a lot of echo. So hopefully this will improve the experience for you. Now on to the question. How do we get men involved with childbearing right from the beginning, especially when things like breastfeeding do create inequalities? I have been saying for a long time that men need to go to baby showers. And I think we will be able to say that we've made a lot of progress in gender equality when it becomes commonplace to see a baby shower at which only men are in attendance. Think about it, right? When we invite and only expect women and maybe the occasional gay best friend to our baby showers, the message that we're sending to each other, to ourselves, to our baby daddies and partners and husbands, and to broader society is that babies are the province of women. They are the concern of women and the responsibility of women. And men are not required to be involved. We invite a bunch of women to spend good money that they probably don't have because of the gender pay gap, and time that they also don't have because women are doing more domestic labor, to plan and prepare a baby shower and to bring gifts to a baby shower. And men are just what? Chopped liver? Like, what are they doing in all of this? Are they going to be involved in this child's life? Because if we expect them to be, then they have to be involved right from day zero. So much of how patriarchy manages to perpetuate itself and keep women oppressed is in the practices of traditions that we bumble through not questioning. And if we do want to make a difference in our lives, we have to be prepared to do things differently than the way they have always been done, to take the scales off our eyes and look at certain practices and be bold about saying, I don't accept this. This is sexist. This is misogynist. This is set up in a way that puts the burden unfairly on me as a woman or, whoever you may be, and put your foot down and say, actually, I expect more. I expect men to come to baby showers. I expect them to spend money on a gift. I expect them to clean up the food and the catering afterwards. I expect them to get up to feed the baby in the middle of the night. I expect them to take parental leave off work and become a primary caregiver for 3 to 6 months of the baby's first year of life. We have to be bold in our expectations.
Why are so many cis men so scared of or threatened by trans women?
I think that the reason that so many cis people in particular oppose the existence of trans people is because gender is a hierarchy. So all cis het people sit towards the top of that hierarchy, but nobody sits higher than cis heterosexual white men. And if anything comes along that upsets that hierarchy, especially if you're the man at the top, you become destabilized and insecure, and you are afraid that you are going to lose your unearned privilege and place. And of course, what creates the gendered hierarchy is the idea that gender is fixed, immutable, that it is innate in our brains, and that those of us who are brained and bodied in a male gender have superior aspects and abilities over those who are female. And it upsets the apple cart in a big way, because if people can just go around deciding which part of the gender hierarchy they get to sit on, then that destabilizes the position of those who sit at the top. So if a person who is assigned female at birth decides that they're actually going to live in the world as a man, they get to have the privileges of a man, in theory. But of course, all trans people are subject to specific types of oppression and disadvantage that cis people aren't. And then conversely, if someone is assigned male at birth and then they decide that they want to be a woman, that completely upsets the idea of what men have established and the patriarchy has established a woman is, and what they should have, and what they innately are and are capable of. Trans people mercifully expose the idea that gender and sexuality should be a certain way, and that scares cishet men.
It's not consent if you're emotionally manipulated into sex, because assault is not just physical force, right?
Content warning for sexual assault on this one, obviously. Now, this isn't so much a question, but I think this is a comment where we need a little more community education, and I'm really happy to talk about that. So, sexual assault obviously manifests in many ways other than just being physically forced into the act of having sex with someone. There are a lot of ways where sex can be described as having not contained consent. And a big one of those is when there is coercion present. And coercion is when you are in some way pestered or verbally and emotionally forced into sex, made to have sex that you wouldn't necessarily have consented to if you had all your options and liberty available to you. That's things like being bribed or threatened, being intimidated into sex, being tricked into sex where you didn't actually know what it was you were getting into. All of these things count as types of sexual assault. I'm going to give you a description of coercive sexual assault that was relayed to me by one of my followers in a DM recently. Go gently with this one because I think this is something that probably has happened to quite a lot of you. But basically, if your partner pesters you in bed at night, stops you from sleeping, basically finds ways to make sure that you don't get to go to sleep until you have sex with him or give your body up for sex with him, that is sexual assault. It happens in a lot of relationships. It happens a lot in relationships where there is a new baby and the person who birthed the baby is just trying to get their, sense of bodily autonomy back and just physically can't comfortably have sex. If you have it threatened to you that he is going to go and see a sex worker if you don't have sex with him, that is all coercion. And it happens a lot more than we would like to admit. And it all counts as non-consent, as coercion and sexual assault.
Can you be a feminist and still enjoy chivalry?
When it comes to chivalry between the genders, I think it's much more relevant for us to look at who is extending the most kindness, respect, and generosity to whom. And I think if we look at history, we will see that women have always been obliged to extend an infinite amount of kindness and generosity towards men. So let's look at the question of splitting the bill. Personally, I'm not interested in dating a man who doesn't offer to pay for the date on our first date. That's not me looking for money. That's me looking for a man who understands the difference between equity and equality, who understands gendered oppression, and who wants to do his part in ending the pay gap. I am not interested in dating a man who is going to penny pinch about what womankind supposedly owes him. So the same goes for chivalry. If a man is being very kind and generous and considerate because that is a good human thing to be, that's fantastic. That is something we can extend to each other.
That's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for listening. Find me on Instagram at summertothill. That's summer with an O, spelt the same way as you see in this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there.